Hi there, friends. I'm Buddy, and boy, oh boy, do I have a tale to tell you. Settle in, make yourselves comfy, and buckle up for the rollercoaster ride known as The Diary of an Alienated Dad. In this world of tunes and tunes, my journey might seem a bit wacky, zany even, but it's sprinkled with heart, hope, and a dash of dad humor. You see, like many dads, my world turned upside down, then inside out, tossed about through the universe until, well, I landed here. Enjoy the ramble.
From the beginning, as you would, as you do, as things normally start. I suppose I'm doing this because a couple of reasons. I work in supporting people and helping people through family court and whatnot, and I work late into the night doing stuff, multiple projects, and just stuff that I'm working on. Partly because I enjoy doing it, but secondly because as an alienated dad, you're like, well, you have to start your life again, don't you? You have to rebuild it again. You're getting the opportunity to do anew and start like a reborn. And it doesn't always feel like a positive thing when you're first going through it, because it takes a lot of getting used to. You lose your house like me, so if it's anything like me, I lost, didn't lose. I gave my house up to my daughter, for my daughter, to make sure that she had somewhere to live and continuity and that sort of stuff. But when I first went through it, for those who don't know, I was probably not too well behaved. I wasn't bad with my ex-wife, that's for sure, but I was bad in court and I was led by Fathers for Justice, and I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't change how I behaved or anything like that at all. I wouldn't change what I learned. But I didn't go about it the right way, so then I had to go my own way. And I basically, all the way through, I've had no solicitor, but I've always come out with being open and honest and living by the principles which I now know, which are now based on what I teach other people, which is like basically own your shit, be humble, show sacrifice, offer compromise, be pragmatic, and remain child focused. If you do all those things, then you'll be child focused all the way. So that's what my journey has taught me, and that's what I teach out to people, and that's what I help people with. But as well, I think it goes beyond that. I think when you go to court and you think you've got your court order, there's no you think you're good, you've got your piece of paper, everything's going to be okay, but it's not. Does that make sense? If you're getting alienated, and I think that's another thing, when you're being alienated, when people use the term alienated, so as much as they use the term narcissist, and I think there's a spectrum of alienation, but there's always, if there's conflict, you expect a certain amount of alienation. I think with my situation, and I mean no malice, I've got no hate or no, where I'm at in my world now, I'm the happiest I've been since probably before marriage, to be honest with you. But then it's taken me a long time to sort of get here. It took me 6 years, 7 years being angry. But my life, if you've been through it, then you'd know that you end up having to, you lose your house obviously, because that's where you're generally 9 times out of 10. If your ex is going to be the main carer and an occupation order goes in, then there's no point in fighting it unless you've got different homes and whatever. And depending on what your situation is, hopefully you could both be housed, but a lot of the time you can't both be housed. And in my situation, we couldn't both be housed in the same place. So it's like I was the one that took the hit on that, and I had to. Well, I gave up the house. Not at the time. It was painful because my daughter called me up, and she said she said she wanted to live with her mum, and that meant for me at the end of that first court date of a 2-day hearing, I was on the front foot with that big time. But ultimately, the long and short of it is I gave up the house, and with that had a decent court order first of all, and we've been back and forth to court multiple times, 7 different cases over the 10 years, and we don't speak. Well, we don't speak. She doesn't speak to me, and she doesn't. Some of the stuff that happens is And I'm not saying this or putting it out there because it's positive, because it's not positive. I wouldn't be doing this if it was positive. And the impact it's had on my daughter is huge. And I think what I've always tried to do is, especially since 2020, is I've taken the massive. I sat down and spoke with my daughter and said, she didn't, because I was living in Watford and she was living in South London, and her friends were there, and she didn't, have any friends with me in Watford. So I was always like, well, I said she didn't have to come with me because she gets interrogated, she was getting a hard time. So I've ended up having to say to her, like, don't worry about having to come see me, but if you don't want to, don't, blah, blah, blah. And then lockdown happened, and then we talk every day, and she's doing super, really, really, really good at school, And I've just left it go easy. I've got a shared care order, and it's meant to be shared care equal, and that doesn't happen. My ex has never followed a court order, not once. I've had her do unpaid work. I don't think that was finished. But then it got to the point where it was impacting my daughter massively. So I promised her in 2020 there'd be no more court, not for me anyway, not for our family anyway. And ever since then I've held that promise. And since September 2020, we've not that a court order hasn't been adhered to. But I've been the one who has following my daughter's lead with that. So I've followed my daughter's lead. She, we see each other, we speak to each other daily. We community. She's doing well at school. And that's what makes me so proud. And that's what people need to know. Is that I've spent less than, my daughter's 15 now, and I've spent less of her life with her, having quality time with her, like quality time. I've spent less time with her than actually half of her life. So to have the relationship that I have with her, which is super tight, she tells me everything, and we do see each other, not as much as I'd like, but we see each other a lot. And that is better than nothing. Ultimately, though, it doesn't make it. I've taken on that burden and the hurt of not seeing my daughter, to make sure that my daughter doesn't feel stuck in the middle or doesn't feel like she has to make a choice. So I made the choice for her. So I made it easy for her to not have to make that choice, to not have to put her in that situation. And that, I think, has helped our relationship. It's helped our relationship massively. But it's also helped her be able to focus at school and get on with what she needs to get on with. And that's brought our relationship closer. And that in itself is magical, because I've supported people and I've helped dads who have pushed their children too far, and because they're getting punished at home by the mum, it happens. And don't get me wrong, I've got cases where the mums are being alienated. So it's not a gender thing. But it just mainly happens to dads. There's not a single day, there's not a lot of days that go by that I don't, when I do sleep, when I do have a nap, because I do have a nap early hours from like 4 until 9, something like that. But when I do wake up, I'll always call out my daughter's name. Not every day, but a lot of the days. But that will never go away. But then our relationship is that, like, she's moved away from home. She's not going to be living with you forever, is she? So, and that's how I've had to normalise that in my head. And that's how we've got used to it. And that's how our relationship has sort of maintained. But what has been lucky and what we have been fortunate with is that she knew that ever since she was younger, that I would not give up. I was not going anywhere. And from a young age, we spoke about that, and because we've just got a really good relationship. And I probably had some grown-up conversations with her that we probably shouldn't have had. But then there's no book on parenting as far as I'm concerned, and they weren't conversations that were well, I'm not proud of them. I was slagging off her mum on occasions, and I shouldn't have done that at all. I've shown her mum, I respect her mum, and I think it's important that my daughter sees that I'm respecting her mum, and feels and knows that I respect her mum, and I've apologised to my daughter, like massively, because of the arguments that me and her mum had, because that's on me, and that's not good and wasn't right for my daughter to experience or to have to put up with. And she was only 18 months from. She just had a whole life ever since she was born, basically, of her parents being at war. And I think, as much as no one's childhood is perfect, I just remembered my childhood, and it was like my parents from the age of, well, they were always arguing. And then I look at my family, and I look at my family, and I look, oh shit, they're not all, in my view, they've been traumatized. We've all been traumatized. Everyone has. And I'm not saying our childhood was any worse or any better than anybody else's, but it wasn't a normal, typical childhood at all, by any stretch of imagination. And I remember thinking that when I was younger, and and I thought to myself, and those who know my story, you can check out my YouTube and whatever, and you can see it all on there. But I wanted something normal in my family. If I was going to have a child, I wanted that to be normal. I wanted what I call normal, and everyone's got a different version of normal. Don't get me wrong, I get that. But my daughter, well, I broke the change. My daughter's doing really well. And what I'm really, really proud of is my daughter's taken my ex-wife's best parts, and she's taken my best parts, and she has made her own personality out of it, and she's got her own thing out of it. And she's a strong, good woman, young woman. She's doing really, really well at school. That's the other thing. She's doing super well at school and would she be doing as well at school? If I was trying to enforce the order and make my daughter follow the court order and follow instructions of coming to spend time with me and blah, blah, that would be putting her under a huge amount of pressure and huge amount of stress, especially with her mum being the way her mum is. So she would not be doing as well at school. And that's another thing you've got to think about. And that's what people don't do when they're going through family court. They don't put themselves in that position. They don't take the hurt and go that child focused to be able to say, I don't want to see my daughter in that time or my son in that time because it's in their interest to spend that time with the other person. Because sometimes all the times it turns into a battle. It turns into a lot of times they forget about the child. You forget about the child, and you end up arguing with the ex, and you forget about the children being there. And I couldn't do that, so I just stopped arguing. I just stopped, and I was like, I thought I was not angry. Lila says to me that I was angry up until 2020, or she could notice the difference in me more in 2020, that I was not angry anymore. And I respect that. I thought I was doing it a little bit before then, but that's fine. And ever since then, I've been on a little woke journey of just putting my faith in the stars and the moons, and self-realization and self-awareness, and trying to be a better person, and blah, blah, blah. Almost lost my leg last year and learnt to walk again, which is good. Not with a little bit of a limp, but there you go. And now I'm doing a random vlog, tog, whatever you call yourself these days, because the cat talks to me, but only in meow. Oh shit. And it's been 11 years this year, and I still do miss my daughter, and she knows I do. But the reality is, like, I don't really have, the cactus doesn't talk back. So I'm speaking to a lot of men when I'm supporting the men, and I'm supporting, they have, like, they're not seeing their kids too. And if some of the people I've spoken to today and yesterday made me realise that people are really, really worried about not seeing their kids, and their kids are going to be forgetting them and forgetting who they are and stuff. And it's like, and I say the same thing to all of them because I felt the same thing. I felt like Lila wasn't going to remember who I was. And when I remember after the first time I saw her, after the first, it was a long time for going without seeing her. And the amount of time that's gone without seeing, I went without seeing her. My body is blocked. I can't literally. I was drinking a lot. Don't get me wrong. I was drinking a hell of a lot. But it's blocked out that time. It's blocked out the time that I was doing that, and I couldn't, and I wasn't seeing her because it hurt that much. Because it hurts that much, I suppose. Some of its body is protecting itself, I suppose. But it was like we'd never been apart. It was like we'd never been apart at all. And then I realised that no matter what happened, because it kept happening, because my ex kept breaking the court order and kept withholding Lila and blah, blah, blah. And the amount of times that I'd gone through court process, at the end of it all, I was just fed up with it, and I just didn't care anymore. And those on Facebook will know, they will see, they know the story, and if you know been following, you know that as well. But there's always new people who are around. It's a big world out there, isn't it? And ultimately, like, I've just got on with life, and I've just used the pain that I felt there to help other people, really, and help other people since then. Go through family court. I've reflected on what I've done wrong, and I say, you know, own your shit, because you have to own your shit. I wasn't perfect in my relationship at all. I argued back. You know, there's lots of things I did, but I'm not focusing on that. I'm focusing on, like, after that, you know. I mean, and I think, and I respect there's a few women out there that are, you know, that when I'm helping these men in court and whatnot, they do the right thing. They start off angry, and as you end a relationship, you're going to be angry. You're going to be you're going to be hurting, and it's right that both people should be, you know, you'd be together if you weren't falling apart. So once they've got over that initial hurt that they're going through, they end the case, and it's all not hunky-dory, but they're communicating. They're doing what they need to do. And it's like there's a few more of them coming through now than what there has been previously, but they're coming, but nowhere near enough. But I respect them women that do that, and it's good, because they're putting the children where they need to be, which is at the centre of their. Well, they shouldn't be caught in the conflict. That's the thing, and that's what we all forget. And it's difficult to see, because I see some of I know, and that's why I've had to apologise to her, because my ex-wife won't say sorry to her at all. She doesn't acknowledge anything. Everything's my fault, and everything will always be my fault, and there's not much I can do about that, because everything's and that's what I say to people. I say, like, you've literally take responsibility for it. You know, at the end of the day, right, this is how I see things. At the end of the day, you have to own your shit. As soon as you, because in my view, I've what do you call it? I've argued with my ex-wife in front of my daughter. That should never have happened. As soon as I got involved with the argument, I'm part of the problem. And that's what I say to people. You know, they're like, "Oh, she's abusing me," and I only reacted. Yeah, I know, but as soon as we react, as soon as we engage, that's the problem. As soon as we engage, yeah, you're part of the problem. If they're arguing with you and you like argue back, then you're the part of the problem, and that's when you're guilty as well. But there'll always be an aggressor and someone who is seen as the person who's the instigator of the arguments, and there'll always be the victim. And majority of the time, it looks on the surface that it would be, you know, if there's allegations, counter allegations going across each other and whatnot. But the way I work it, the way I say it is, no one's perfect. Two people break down a relationship. Takes two to make a relationship and two to break a relationship. And relationships will always break when there's no communication. And that's when a relationship is finished, is when there's been no communication. And people can blame each other for that, but it takes two to communicate. So I try and get my people to see that and go in a court. And once you've seen that you are part of the problem, and once you understand that you're part of the problem, and you go into court and you're telling people you're part of the problem, I call it owning your shit. Own your shit. Could say that I'm not as I've always had a problem with being corporate, I suppose you could say that. And I try and be as, not corporate as, not corporate, but a little bit more edgy than your normal sort of family court professional and whatnot. But the way I work it, the way I say it is, no one's perfect. Two people break down a relationship. Takes two to make a relationship and two to break a relationship. And relationships will always break when there's no communication. And that's when a relationship is finished, is when there's been no communication. And people can blame each other for that, but it takes two to communicate. So I try and get my people to see that and go in a court. And once you've seen that you are part of the problem, and once you understand that you're part of the problem, and you go into court and you're telling people you're part of the problem, I call it owning your shit. Own your shit. Could say that I'm not as I've always had a problem with being corporate, I suppose you could say that. And I try and be as, not corporate as, not corporate, but a little bit more edgy than your normal sort of family court professional. It's a bit odd that I'm actually letting myself do this as well, right? Because I suppose another reason why I'm doing this, right? Just because the cat doesn't answer back as well. But not just because of that, but because I'm working for people. I think it's important that people see the authentic, or as authentic as you can be, because no one is naturally always going to be. You're not going to be authentic. Well, I'm trying to be. That's really difficult, because it's like I feel vulnerable, like, and that's what makes you uncomfortable, and that's what makes it nervous for me and nerve-wracking for me. If it was a live, if I'm doing a Facebook, that's weird, isn't it? Because if I'm doing a Facebook live, I'm fine with it. But you get me on TikTok and it's like I'm totally like out of my depth. But I suppose TikTok, but I suppose it has to go on a little bit longer. I don't know. But I see. This is what I say to anyone who watches this. I don't know if it get how it works, but ultimately, what do you call it? When you're going without seeing your kids. When you're going without seeing your kids, it's like, when they're young, and that's where I'm fortunate. That's where I'm lucky, because I had built that time before the breakup with Lila, because my ex-wife had left me with her. We built that time to bond on her when she was going out, and I was looking after her and stuff, and that was a lot. So we had that time there, we maximised that time there to build the connection and build the bond. And if you don't get them first 7 years right, and that's crucial, them first 7 years, because that's going to impact your relationship as they get older. And reluctantly, as they get older, for me, you have to make that sacrifice of, if there's conflict, you need to minimize that conflict. You can't minimize that conflict if every time the child is going in and getting interrogated or getting punished, subliminally punished, I call it, when they are not being punished was so they get their electricals taken away from them, or like by because they're speaking about their dad, or they'll get no sweets or the trainers they wanted or something like that. That's for no reason at all other than just speaking about the dad, which Lila's had to fall victim of previously. And that's another reason why I made that decision to step back and sacrifice our time together directly, rather than keep putting her under that pressure. And that in itself is difficult, because naturally you wanna spend time with your kid. But again, I've seen happen so much that the kids end up resenting the dad because they're getting punished. So the dad keeps trying, but then every time the child's getting punished, so the child then turns around and starts saying, please don't come, leave me alone. Dad refuses to respect the boundaries of the child, and then the child resents the father. I've seen that happen a lot. I suppose because I've seen it, I took that sort of decision. I did. And that's what you've got to do. And I think that's something I've always done really well, though, is I've always taken the difficult road, taken the more difficult road. If there's a difficult road, I'll take that subconsciously without realising that it's the more difficult road. So, and I'm used to being sort of like the Lone Ranger, I suppose, because I'm not used to it, because I've always had like normally I've had a girlfriend or whatever, or housemates. I'll tell you what, there's nothing better than being by yourself, or living by yourself, or I'm difficult to live with, I think, because I work so late. And it's important that people see that I'm a real human being, just like everyone else. We may have different opinions, we may have different thoughts. I don't know how people. I was trying to say this the other night when I did this the other night. I think I don't know how people get ask questions. I don't know what they do. I don't know what the fuck goes on with it all. But I'm just rambling as I do. What's this fucking shit? No, I shouldn't. Apparently, I'm not allowed to swear on here as well, so I'm struggling with that. I'm not struggling because I've actually done quite well with not swearing, to be honest. But that's just that. I do remember excessive. I don't remember much, but I do remember excessively drinking my way through the whole breakup. When I was working, I was drinking like a bottle of vodka at work, and then finishing work and travelling all back to North London and drinking all along the journey. Fucking hell, I was an idiot. And there's the other thing. I don't drink now. I don't drink at all. I wouldn't. It's like I've almost swapped one addiction for the other, and that's working. But then I don't see this as work, because like, for selfish reasons, I'm helping people. So, and I'm good at it, and I'm good at like making sure people see what sort of the courts are looking for and preparing them for, because because all we do is prepare. We just prepare for how strict things are, and so it's not a surprise to them when, and it is still a surprise to them. I saw on a cafe call today, and he was like, didn't expect it to go the way it did, and it's because, how can you put it? It's intense. It's just intense, and it's because it's so intense. It's like it's overdrive almost. It's almost overdrive. And as a man, you're naturally presumed to be the bad person, especially if you've got like a history. And not everyone has histories, but still feel like they're made to feel like they're the bad people. I mean, I've known people to be involved with, never been involved with the police before, never been arrested before, ever. And then literally, first interactions with the police are from non-molestation order. And it's like, and then somehow the ex-managers to get them arrested on the non-molestation order multiple times. Ends up going to court. Never been in trouble with the police before in his life. Multiple men. It happens to multiple men, not just one man. So if you're a person that I've worked for, their ex-partner, and you see this, I could be talking about you, but look, I'm using you. You might be using it as an example, but I'm not mentioning you. There's multiple men, hundreds of men, hundreds. I've been doing this for like 10 years, 11 years. Well, soon to be 11 years. And it's literally hundreds, thousands of men that have never been in trouble with the police before. And it's almost like they want to, like with my ex-wife, her mum said to Lila last year when Lila was with me, she won't be happy until I'm dead. Oh, that's good. And that was quite sad as well, because it's like, a couple of years ago I thought I had testicular cancer, and I was worried about how was I going to have to tell Lila, because how is she going to mourn? How is she going to, like, she's my next of kin. She is my next of kin. But she'd at least be allowed to mourn, didn't she? But her mum wouldn't let her mourn. She'd be like, pissing on my grave. And that's the problem. It's like I say, I wasn't perfect, but I wasn't bad either. And I've supported women who have dealt with much worse people than me. I was just sharpening my tongue, and that was reacting to what I was putting up with, or the behaviour that I was tolerating, which was being stonewalled and abused, gaslit. And I didn't know all this stuff was happening. And some of it was happening, but I was like accepting of it, because I was just like, well, that's what relationships are like. It's all I'd known. It's all I'd seen my parents do. I expected people to argue, but you work through that, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, judge turned around and said, well, it was toxic. But I still walked out with a non-molestation order against me, but it didn't impact the child arrangements order. And that's the thing. The judge had my back all the way through. She had my back, because I was going in there with Fathers for Justice. They were making me fucking causing loads of shit for me, making fire when they didn't need any fire. Reality is that's what they were doing. They were making fire when there was no fire, and they were arguing. They're making me argue about things that didn't need arguing about. That's the reality. Anyway, I'm building this fucking, do you know what, this website, right? I'm shit at all this stuff. Really shit. But I've had to learn, and that's another crazy thing. We learn, right? So, I hope we learn. Anyway, most people learn. Doesn't matter, you could make the same mistake 10 times, 20 times, 100 times. But sooner or later you learn, same as like when I just decided to stop drinking. Just didn't even think about it, just stopped drinking. I think that might have been the main thing that stopped me from drinking. It was me getting a bike last year. That was a good call. And then crashing it. And then going into hospital. That sort of helped with my drink. But I focused on that and made sure I've remained not abstinent, but, is that my word? Abstinent? But sober. Oh, how's that logo there? But that's what I'm saying. I don't get it. I don't get how that works that way. And I am such, like, literally, I procrastinate a lot. And then I get to a certain point on these websites, right? I'm like, yeah, it's good. And I'm like, fuck, that doesn't look good. Another day something just went wrong, and it just totally changed the whole back cover. It changed everything. And I was like, oh, that's good. So I had to take this website down that I'm doing. But I want to build this website, and I'm building it now. I'm doing it, and it's going to go back in a little by tonight. But I want it to have, like, it's called the Man Shop. And I want it to have support, like, any person, any sort of small business out there, right? So it sort of helps them, it helps collaborative working, and it helps the men. Because previously, I was like, oh, all about my services and what I offer and blah, blah, blah. And you know, right or wrong, that's what I was like. That's what I was like. And it wasn't very, I don't think it was very nice or it wasn't very nice. And I've reviewed and reflected on things, and now I'm like, I want to help. I want to just get all of the people that I admire. And that's the thing, isn't it? Like, that's the thing. When we dislike someone, or when we don't like someone, and we don't know them, or we haven't spoken to them, or we just look at their work and we're like, oh, and then take the piss out of them and mock them. Generally, we're doing that because we envy something about what we're looking at, and we admire what we're looking at. And from a man's perspective, or a woman's, I suppose not a woman, but from my perspective, we're doing it because of the jealousy or the envy that we feel, and we put them down. So, and that's a natural human emotion, I suppose. But the thing is, rather than use that as a negative and keep it as a negative, you need to switch it round and admire it, and then say, what steps have you gone on to do that? How have you managed to get to where you go? And try and learn rather than think negative stuff. I think that's important, because that's a big change, because it changes your vibrations and it changes how you look at things, and it changes everything, because it gives love, isn't it? It's giving love. It's giving love. So, and I want to put everybody, any person who's offering any small business or big business, who's offering like services or anything that would benefit a man who's trying to rebuild his life. Because when you get out of family court, I'm on year 11 now. 7 years, I was just angry and just stayed at the same place being angry. And then I'd blaming the world, blaming everyone else, and not looking at myself. And then when I started looking at myself, I started making changes. But then I realised when I was speaking to Lila the other week, or month, well, I think it was last year, she still does the same stuff with her new boyfriend as what she was doing with me, i.e. arguing. But we knew that there was a problem because stuff happened before that, and I'd say, social services and whatnot, they're now looking after her because Lila wanted to live with me for a little while, and I was like, that's the day you wait for. Your kids say, I want to come live with you. And I was like, yeah, great. But then I still encouraged her to go and make up with her mum and blah, blah, blah. But that was the right thing to do for my daughter. Again, taking more sacrifice. Because it's the right thing to do. But not everyone thinks like that. I'm seen as like a fucking, like, I'm seen as, I know there's people who don't really look at me too fondly in the realm of my work, because their shit doesn't stink, because they're superhuman. What upsets me, right, a little bit is because some people, I've got a couple of people, right, not a couple, it's about 2 or 3, I've helped them massively, gone over and bent over backwards for them, getting shit done for them, above and beyond what any other fucking Mackenzie friend would do, or support function would do. Answer the phone to them at 3 o'clock in the morning, make sure they're getting the right order, make sure they're doing things, thinking, forward thinking, blah, blah. One little mistake and fucking, they're like, literally, your worst enemy. And not even that, you're not even your worst enemy, it's like, their case is in a really good place. I'm going to sneeze in a minute. I'm so going to sneeze. And I don't understand it. I don't understand why people have to hate. I think people can make mistakes, own their mistake. If they genuinely made a mistake and they like own it, then why can't people forgive? And I don't think people should always forgive naturally. We don't have to be best mates again or whatever. But you don't have to hate, do you, really? It's like, I just think, I mean, I can't hate anymore. Literally cannot hate anymore. It's like, I can't believe how much years I wasted being angry. That's the other thing. It's like, I say to people, like, it's a natural process. You can't say to someone, you've got to stop being angry. But for me, it's like, I'm not giving her that. I was bitter. I lost my £100,000. Yeah, I had clothes on my back, and having to rebuild your life again after that is not easy when you're paying child maintenance, blah, 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 all your crap, travelling around. It's just not easy. It's all right if you want money, but even then you're going to lose a substantial amount. Even then, yeah, you're going to lose a substantial amount because that's what they do. Why would anyone get married these days, man? It doesn't matter when I see people celebrating that on Facebook and stuff. I'm like, wow, you're celebrating that. I was paying for that after we were fucking divorced, or going for the divorce. Wasn't even living together anymore, and I was still paying for it. Most expensive day party of my life. And probably the worst one as well. Most expensive one, that's for sure. Anyway, back to this website, right? Yeah, so I want to put people, anyone who's using a service. So it could be like a garage, yeah, because that's a man thing. So you could be like a garage. I'd like to put you on, if you know, I'll put you on a website, and if you're a local area, then or wherever, people will come to the website to get my help and whatnot, and then they see other stuff, because it's about rebuilding your life. It's about rebuilding everything from having nothing and rebuilding it to something, because that's not easy. And you know, people kill themselves because of this shit. And I know that I lost what, £20,000 last year, because when I went into hospital and fortunately my account got hacked and whatnot, and that I was almost on the cusp on the way up, and then that shot me down. I was like, oh shit, man, shit. But not to be deterred, you carry on going, and that's what you do. You've got to carry on going. You've got to carry on going. What I do hate, right? I do resent is where I'm living now. It's got pay as you go fucking gas and electric, right? I've never seen anything so ridiculous in my life. Not in my life, never, because it's the person who I'm renting from. Like, I don't know how it all works with all this stuff, but so I just pay it. But it's more expensive. It's more expensive to pay it that way. Normally, it's people who are worse off that have got that sort of setup, right? And they charge them more. They charge them more to be on that setup, and it's like I fucking refuse to sit in. If I've got a choice of putting the heating on and spending like, I don't know how much I spent over the weekend, like 60 quid on heating, and it's, fuck that shit, 60 quid on heating. No, I'd much rather sit here with a scarf on and get a big honking nose, like, and not pay that amount. No, it's a one-off. That's a month. But yeah, that pisses me off a little bit. Because again, as a man, you're going to be going through this shit. You could be, I was homeless a little while. It's only when I met Bandana, who's like an angel, who pulled me out of the gutter. And I'm trying to stop myself from sneezing, by the way, because I don't want to sneeze. That's putting myself in a vulnerable place, isn't it, eh? And that's that's my whole thing of being confident and getting over your like confidence thing, isn't it? Everyone thinks you're confident. I am confident to a certain extent. I wouldn't be doing this otherwise. I wouldn't have achieved some of the stuff. And I've had a good life. I've achieved good stuff, and I've helped people along the way, and I've got good memories. And yeah. my bitter, angry brother contacted me earlier. So fucking hell. I tend not to speak to them. I love them dearly, but they're just damaged. We all are. We all are from our childhood, but they blame me, and it's like, well, no, I'm not living with your guilt anymore. I'm not living with that. I don't have that. You need to look at your parents. You need to go and get therapy. You need to go and get help. But I don't mind taking the blame, because I take the blame for everything. I've got an ex-wife. She blames me for everything. COVID-19 was my fault. And that's the beautiful thing. Once you've gone through what you go through with your ex, right? If it's really, really bad and it's like narcissistic and it's all like fucking evil, different level, and like you can go for anything. You're like, okay, that's my fault. Okay, sure, it's my fault. Okay, cool, no worries. I get you. I've got your back. It's my fault. Don't worry about it. It's all me. And once you've got there, once you get to that point, life gets so much easier. Just so much easier, because it's like, yeah, it's just simpler. I can't be bothered to argue with you. Okay, my brother was going on a little shit. Yeah, okay. I explained, typed all that. I didn't speak to him because I said to him, get a non-molestation order against him if he contacts him anymore. I blocked him from everywhere, blocked them all from everywhere, because they're just so bitter and so dark and so messed up, and they want to blame me. And it's like, no. Look at your mum and dad. I almost killed my mum. She came out of hospital and she fucking, I hid all the tablets from her because she went, I had to drop out of sixth form. I had to drop out of school to make sure that I was my brothers and everything weren't going into foster care. I was 16. You wouldn't get that done these days at all. But I turned the house into a party house, turned the house into a fucking rave. What do they expect a 16-year-old to do? Literally. But I stopped them all from going into foster care. And I was paying them money, all of them money, when I moved away as well. But then Lila was born and I stopped. And they started getting shitty with me. And then they want to resent me and hate me and whatever. Crack on. I love you all. But you need to get some help. And anyone negative, you choose who you rub shoulders with, don't you? Do you know what I mean? So it's like, I choose if I want to communicate with them. I choose if I want to listen to that shit. I choose if I want to let that get into my mind. Because we control our minds don't control us, yeah? Everyone forgets that. Everyone forgets that. We're so easily led by our emotions, and I'm terrible for it. I'm like, literally, when I was younger, before going through this shit, I was like awful for being led by emotions, like so bad. It was unbelievable, which impacted again my daughter negatively, because I shouldn't have let my emotions get the better of me. But when you're going through that shit and you've lost everything, and you're losing everything, or you feel like, and you have lost everything because of false allegations and whatnot, because it's all just a big setup. It's like there's a diary on Mumsnet or something that they're all going, like, these aren't nasty people, and they're not all nasty, but the really nasty ones, it's like they use the diary of Mumsnet, whatever, and then like, you know, like word for word, and that takes it away from the genuine, real victims, the real proper victims. And the amount of men that don't see themselves as being victims, you know, it's just a relationship, it's just how it is. They take beatings. And that happened to me. I was taking beatings and literally got fucking. They get shunned down for. Well, I got shunned down. But I said to the judge, I said, like, she was hitting me one day, and I stopped her from hitting me. Put the arms up in the air and put her on the sofa. Put her firmly on the sofa. I didn't throw her on the sofa. Firmly on the sofa. And I said, stop fucking hitting me. Stop fucking hitting me. And the judge was like, yeah, that's it. You're guilty. And I said, what? I said, what, under self-defence? Surely, Your Honour. No, that's guilt, you're physical, you said firmly, blah, blah, blah. So, that was it. I was like, all right, fine, I did that, no problem. Take that on, own your shit, take that, no problem. And then, that's what the case turned around then. It was like, literally turned around. And it was like, I still walked out of the moment and said it was a confession. But she blamed, and that's the thing, they'll blame you. The crazy ones won't take no responsibility for nothing. Nothing. And do you think the judges can see, and they sit there watching this shit all day, every day? And if I've been doing this for 10 years and I can see patterns, and I see the patterns of behaviour, and do you think that judges can see the same patterns of behaviour? So when you've got all these allegations coming at you, and you know they're bullshit, you've just got to ride the wave, try and keep your emotions in check. They're not letting you see your kids because of it. That's difficult, but for your kids' sake, you got to hold it together. You got to hold your emotions together. I went through the stage of just saying yes to everything, but they were breathalyzing me at my daughter's school, which I was cool with. I wasn't cool with it, but I just said yes. Right. So yeah, any small man businesses anywhere in England or Wales, garage, it could be a garage, it could be a gym, it could be whatever. And if put yourself on, when I get my website live, put yourself on, if you want to fucking share your details on my website, and then have a place where they come to get all of their life rebuilt. Does that make sense? Like an online store where they get all of their life rebuilt. And I can push local communities, like local bits and whatever, because I've got clients all over England and Wales. And all of this for free. All of it because I'm nice. Right, so. And that's it, anyone who wants that, I'll do it for anyone. You may not just do men's stuff, but you might do like men's stuff as well as women's stuff. But if it's something you can do predominantly just men, then, and you want to be advertised, and not advertised, yeah, but advertised, yeah, I'll advertise, because there's going to be, because what I want to do, I want to turn it into like, if I get enough people involved doing it, right, then you could have like awards, and have like the best charities for people who are not charities, best businesses that are serving men and that sort of shit. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Hey, that'd be good. And then it drives, what do you call it? It's like a win-win. It has to win for everyone. It has to be win-win for everyone. That's what you need to remember when you're co-parenting as well. No matter what happens, you got to try and think win-win-win-win-win. Win for everyone, not win-lose. You can't think you win, they lose, because that doesn't work. It doesn't work. It has to be a win-win-win-win for everyone, because if everyone wins, your children win. And that's the most important thing. You need to make sure that your children win. And that's the most difficult thing that when we forget when you're going through the, when you're in the eye of the storm, you forget there's little people down there that like, their world has just disappeared. The two people they love most in the world are gone. And then they feel stuck and torn in the middle. And it's like, they're going to get told off for loving one more than the other. So cold. So cold. Because my idea is, as well, if I'm being honest as well, I think everyone I've spoken to about using these core behaviours for the blueprint for success in family court, right? So you've got like I said earlier, own your shit, be humble, show sacrifice, offer compromise, be pragmatic, and that doing all them things at the right time, doing all of those things at the right time, all the time, then you're going to be child-focused, and you'll take child-focused things to another level. You use those principles in life as well, and that wins. So I want to try and make that the new normal of going through family court, and make it like, rather than people going through family court all angry and real fired up, which is what the far right do, they make people angry, and they keep them angry, and they get them into court, and they make sure they're all fired up, and then they're given court, and then they don't hold down. I say it's sort of like, you know, they're giving them like a match. They use them like a match and a bucket of petrol to mess around with you, keeping you raw. Like the way I do things is try and you can't move away from people's emotions and how they're feeling, but you can be in charge of how you expose those feelings and how you communicate those feelings. Because when you are angry, you're naturally going to write more angrily without even realizing that you're writing angrily, because it's just going to come out, your anger, your frustration, in the different words that you use. and how your body language communicates as well. We're going with that. Oh, fuck. And this is what happened the other day. Like, I lost loads of work, man. I don't know how. I hate it when that happens. I should say things as I go, really, but I forget. Darn it. I think that's another thing that happens as well. If you're not, if you go like your sleep, that's another thing that fucks your sleeping up when you're like not seeing your kid and that keeps me up. That's why plus I'm busy, but at the same point, when when I was going through the big time, I was like, there's no way in that message your pattern, everything messes your pattern up, everything that you had, if everything you had has been taken away from you, then you have no choice but to, it's going to mess up everything. It's going to mess it all up, your whole pattern of everything. Oh, fuck. So I'm still bemused as to how people ask questions and everything there, because I haven't figured that much out yet. So I don't know what I'm doing, or if I'm doing wrong. Oh shit, there's always people in there. I'll forget about that. Fucking there's loads of you being in there. Sorry for missing you. If you've built this bit, there's like 4 people there. But I don't know how to see if there's any questions or anything about this. Something that I'm sure that I will pick up along the way, because there doesn't seem to be much going on. It is late in the morning or early in the morning hour. That's one thing I started doing though, is when I was like literally going out for walks, man, like going out for walks and being nice to people. When you don't want to be nice to people, because you're feeling really shit, go out and be nice to them, because it'll make you feel better. Something I learned, that's when I first started going through all this stuff, I was going out feeding the homeless people more, because they were appreciating me, and you need people to appreciate you when you are being told that you're the worst person in the world, that you're being like, you're scum of the earth, and you're being made to feel like scum because of Kafka saying all this stuff about you, your exes, and everyone feels like listening to your ex, not listening to you. All you need to remember is that these are just allegations. They're not the amount of times that up until the end, after, because I was in court like 7 times with my ex-wife, the last 3 or 4 cases, last 3 cases, I was just blasé about everything and didn't care. And then my ex-wife just embarrassed herself. They nailed her to the floor. But that's 7 cases over 10 years. Like, when you're in your first case, they're giving the mum generally the benefit of the doubt. I had a case a few weeks ago who they thought that the dad was the problem, but he didn't say, and he did do something wrong. He did. But he didn't see what he did as being wrong, as being abuse, because she was pulling his hair. So, and she wouldn't let go of his hair. So he pulled her hair. And he saw that as self-defense, and then he was like, it's -7, do you know that? It's -7 outside, -7. For goodness sakes, -7. Yeah, so he pulled it, but ultimately, when he owned that, once he owned that, they realised that she was the abuser and she was the aggressor. And the judge got everyone into the court, all these Kafkas, all these social services, and made an example out of them all and said, this is what you should, and then the funniest thing is, when they were doing all this victim stuff with him, it was all for women. So it's like, forgive the fact that it says women, forgive the fact that it says mum, pretend it says dad on there, pretend it says dad. He was fine with everything, but it just goes to show you that women are naturally the ones normally doing that, which is why the material is made for just mainly women. But then 97% of men are presumed guilty or are guilty of abuse, and we are, because that's what happens. That's what happens. Not, abuse happens in every single relationship. Every single relationship. Every single relationship. And the professionals are aware. And the professionals are aware that every single relationship has a certain element of abuse within it. They say, is it a healthy amount of abuse, or is it an unhealthy, toxic amount of abuse? They also accept that when parents separate, that the child will naturally be emotionally abused because by the mum, because the mum is grieving, or by the residing parent, normally the mum, because the mum is grieving. But it's okay for the mum to emotionally abuse the child, but then the mum gets away with it because she's pleading victim. And sometimes they are victim. Let's not forget that. Yeah, sometimes they are. In fact, a lot of the times they are. I'm not saying that at all. I've been working with people, and they was like, no, it's all her. And then you can just see by the text messages they communicated and how they were communicating that they were abusive, and you have to educate them about them being abusive. And then you say to them, go into court, and you tell them that. What are we going to tell them that? Yeah. And own your shit, and see what happens. If you take the more difficult road, always take the more challenging road, do what you don't want to do, and I bet you get a better result where you learn something from it, you grow from it, you get stronger from it. Let's do that then. So I'm doing quite well actually. You know what I mean? What was it now? I was about an hour. Jesus, normally my lives do. I normally don't make them last for an hour. I've done this for like an hour and a half. I don't know what TikTok's up to. It makes me select certain things that like I'm just learning about all this TikTok malarkey. So I can guarantee you as well, right? Your children, when they're communicating with you, I went through a stage with Lila where she was talking to me like shit, yeah, like literally talking to me like shit. She didn't even realise that she was talking to me like shit. Didn't even realise, yeah? Because that's all she'd heard her mum speak to me like. So it's like, I couldn't then get angry at her for talking to me badly. So I let it go on for a while. I let it go on. And then I've suddenly shown her that I was not reacting to anything. I'm not, I was talking to her as usual. And then, because all she'd heard and all she'd been told was I had no friends. And I don't really have many friends. I don't have any. Well, I've got a few. But I've got loads of clients, and also I class all my clients as friends. But then I can't. This is the other thing. I can't class my clients as friends, right? Because I go all in, right? So where people are quite corporate, and your normal McKenzie friends, you've got normal people who would see it as a client, business transactional, blah, blah, job done. Because I'm quite empathic, and I can feel people's emotions, and I can feel them like, I get emotional for them, and it's like, I give myself to my clients, and I'm like literally, they're letting me into their life. They're letting me into the darkest days, and I've got to get them through it all. And I share my experiences with them, and you share experiences. And that's going to forge a friendship, or a professional friendship of sorts, right? Or professional respect at least. But I've been shit on so many times by clients that have been, or I thought were, that way. And it's like, I'm not going to stop being that way, but I have to be more regimented. So I can't say they're all friends, but they're acquaintances. But there's people that I've met from doing this that I get on really well with, and I still help them with their shit. For years now, some people I've done helping for like 7 years, one of them, 8 years. And that's constant. That's not just like the family court stuff. That's like ongoing. Do I need to make an application to court now? What do you think about this? What do you think I should do about that? Blah, blah, blah. And where possible, we avoid family court. But 9 times out of 10, people will be back in family court 6 to 12 months after they've had their final court hearing. Because a life event will happen. A life event will be you know, your ex has got a new boyfriend, or you've got a new wife, or your wife's pregnant, or your new wife's pregnant, something big will make contact stop again, or especially if they're toxic. These women are toxic, and there's a certain type of toxic woman that does that, and literally, makes me so frustrated, because all they're doing is impacting the kid. Especially if you can get, because the issue I had was didn't get to acceptance quick enough. The big change in your life. All this other shit was going on. Didn't know what to do. Didn't know how to cope with it all. So I pressed the red button, and that's what I did with life back then. I just pressed the red button and just bury my head in the sand, drink, and take drugs and forget about it all. Because I was working and holding down work, I was drinking, but I wasn't doing as much drugs as I was. Actually, I was. But I was cocaine. I was doing loads of cocaine with Lindsay, and I'm not doing cocaine now. It's fucking freezing in here. That's all. It's not freezing in here, but it is cold actually. It's -7. It says on the computer it's -7 outside. Like, I wonder what it's like in Russia, or the Antarctic. That's cold, man. That's cold. I saw something the other day where there's a place near Russia that literally it freezes. You think literally everything's frozen all the time. Like, how mental would that be? How mental would that be? And people adapt, though, don't they? We adapt. We adapt like humans. That's what we do. We adapt, and that's what I didn't do initially when I was first going through the breakup and all. I was like, press the button, gone. Waste 6 years of life, 7 years of your life being angry, achieving nothing, arguing over silly stuff. And that's the other thing I try and do, make people get to that acceptance quicker than what we normally would do. Because you let them squabble. I mean, I got someone, I'm like, look, you're going to get the same court order, regardless of whatever. You're not going to get contact. You're going to get X, Y, and Z. You need to wait for you've got a plan. So you say that, but then that still doesn't stop them from wanting to go more and wanting to go have more and ask for more and be more difficult still, because they're being difficult towards you, so you have to be difficult towards them. Don't do it. Don't do that. Don't be literally, take the moral high ground. Take the moral high ground. Do the more difficult thing. When I said to the judge, when I went into court the second day, and I said, Lila called me up last night and she said she wants to live with her mum. I said, Lila knows everything she asks for, she gets. Especially from me, that's what I promised all of her life, that's what it's been. So that's what it needs to be today, Your Honour. I'm not saying you're going to give me the order, The judge was shocked. And then when I said I didn't want Christmas as well, I was like, Lila needs to be with her family at Christmas, her mum at Christmas, because her mum has a big family. That's something I don't have. I can't give her that. So she will have a better time and better time with her mum at that time. I'll just have New Year's. I'll have New Year's Eve. And that's what we settled with, and that's what we did. And ever since then, I've not had a Christmas day with her since 2013. But that's through choice. That's a sacrifice that I've made through making sure that my daughter has a more appropriate Christmas, a happier Christmas time. And that's true as well, because my ex-wife has got a large family, so families at Christmas is about family and shit. And when I said that, judge was even shocked as well. So it's about making these sacrifices and making them bold and owning your shit. Judges are shocked by that as well. Going into court and saying, yeah, I did that wrong. I'm bad, I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. Taking responsibility, 99% of people will point the finger of blame. A few of us, when you've got crazy ex-partners that blame you for everything anyway, and you get used to it, so it's like, yeah, okay, I did that, yeah, okay. I never did. Lila's doing a, what do you call it? She's got an exam tomorrow, doing a textiles exam. 5 hours. Don't think I could do that. 5 hours is a long time, isn't it? I'm like, well, you don't have a nap in between. that's what I was doing. I was doing it wrong now. Jesus. Falafels. What? Oh, mate, what about this? What about this one? What about the fucking Antarctic? Oh, my life. It's some scary shit going on out there. Like, mermaids are real. Mermaids are definitely real. If you think I'm crazy and lost the plot, seriously, they're real. It's on Australian news. It was on the news in Australia. They're definitely real. And there's crazy things, and they're finding crazy things in like loads of different fish and stuff, and well, aliens are effectively, I think, in the sea. Under the sea. Under the sea. Was that in Finding Nemo? Under the sea. I'm sure it was, wasn't it? I remember when I went to fucking Australia, and I can't swim, right? So I went out to go scuba diving in the Great Barrier Reef, and I can't swim, but I wasn't missing the opportunity. But they had to fish me out because the tide took me away. I had a bit of rope around me. That was the first time I ever left England, you know, going to Australia. How fucked up is that? I won like an incentive at work. Never left England before that point. Mental, chicken oriental. I want to build a whole sort of full men support, like get back on your feet, get through family court, get back on your feet and be a better version of you type website and business, but not just doing it all by myself, doing it with collaborating with other businesses and other people who do similar to what I do and do, or not similar to what I do, because, you know, it could be something totally different. I'm sure this place is like haunted. It suddenly goes from hot to cold, do you know what I mean? Not hot to cold, but when 7 -7, but you get suddenly it goes even colder, and you feel like a chill, like cold air go through you, like literally. And it wasn't there a minute ago. Oh fuck, it gets cold. Aliens on the moon? Is aliens out there? Under the sea. Huh. I think what people like, I think you might think I'm a bit crazy with this, right? You might think I'm a bit crazy, but generally, once you've come out of like a relationship where you're blaming yourself, or when you get the blame for everything yourself, and you have a bit of a childhood like that as well, or my childhood was more like trying to fucking show that I was good at something and good at everything, and never being good enough. I think that's, and then again, dropping out of school to look after my family, to make sure they didn't go into foster care, getting no acknowledgement for that either. Not even a thank you, apart from the fact that when my mum came out of hospital, she made me give her all the tablets that I'd hidden away, told me off and whatnot, and then we go into town, get some shopping, And by the time I got back, she tried killing herself again. And it's like, that's not normal. And that would have been my fault. That would have been my fault if the ambulance hadn't got there. And it's like, that's messed up. Like, you look back and you're like, that's not normal. And it's like, and I used to slag my fathers off. I'd be like, they were just all stupid. They were stupid. Then you learn. I've educated myself in terms of childhood trauma and things. And I'm lucky. I'm fortunate because I had people around me. I went out to work. So where we were like a council estate family and a council, you know, people are judgmental. People are judgmental. They judge you and judge on what you wear and judge on what you look like and that sort of stuff. That's society as a whole. And people shouldn't judge anyone. No one's got the right to judge anyone. No one's got the audacity. I couldn't give a fuck if people judge me or not. I don't care anymore. But ultimately, no one's got the right to judge me. No one's got the right to judge you, me, anyone. No one's, just focus on yourselves, yeah? But everyone's so busy sticking their nose in everywhere and having an opinion or something and having a thought of someone or whatever. That's society. I mean, that's fine, but like literally, I was out going out working, so I was able to wear labels where we weren't wearing labels before, and I was wearing like you know, labels people would buy, and Nike and Reebok and whatever. And so people started talking to me, and then they started learning about my family and whatnot, and that's that. And again, if that wasn't for me, like, you know, the family would be broken apart. That's for sure. And I feel for them all. And I like, but then even I got these like 2 WhatsApps off one of them today, and I was like, tried explaining, tried to give them nice, tried being love, tried giving them respect, and I did not give them respect. I still did. I said, look, you need to get someone to talk to, because, and I pointed out, you know, just where I'm at in my life, and I've given myself to the universe. I've literally, I've just given myself to the universe, like. The last 6, 7, 11 years now, but then I've been like floating around to make sure I'm around for my daughter, and make sure that, you know, following court orders and make sure she knows who I am and whatnot. And whenever anything goes wrong with Lila, she knows my phone number by heart. She's like, she knows I'll come in there, swoop in there, and pick her up and make sure she's okay. And that's, you know, I'm there to pick up the pieces, and that's, you know, not a nice feeling when you want to be there more. But again, that's better than nothing, I suppose. That's better than, yeah, it's better. I'm blessed. I'm lucky that I've got the relationship I've got with my daughter, with all the stuff that she's had to put up with her mum, and she loves her mum, and rightly so. And she asked me a few months ago, what would happen if I saw her mum getting beaten up or whatever, and I was like, I'd protect her. That's your mum, Lila. So anything that happens, my job is to make sure that you're happy and you're smiling, and you know your life is as peaceful and as good as it can be. So if anything has happened to your mum, then I'd protect her. I'd protect her, because anything happens to her and that makes you sad, because you love your mum, it's going to make you sad. So I'd protect her and I'd make sure that she's okay. And then a few weeks later, she tells me that she had to step in between her mum and her boyfriend. So I was like, well, that's not good. You should have told me that. But she didn't. She dealt with it. But then she dealt with it. She shouldn't have had to. But then she knows I think she knows about my childhood, and she knows I was around her age. Now, around her age, I was literally dealing with my mum having a breakdown. And she doesn't have that. She doesn't have that. So she's able to focus at school and that sort of stuff. So that in itself is better. And that's another reason why I've made the choices that I've made, because I know what it was like to have like a parent that is causing issue. And I wouldn't, you know, and she's got a mum that just wants to, you know, be angry, and she loves her mum. But her mum shows love in a different way to what I show love. And her mum's spent her lifetime slagging me off. But Lila's like in my group that I've got like 6,000 people in it. She sees the people that I help. She hears me on the phone talking to these people, and she now knows that if I was bad, I'd say apologise for some of the stuff that she's experienced in her life because of me arguing with her mum and shouting back. And yeah, she shouldn't have had to experience that, but I've apologised to her. So that doesn't make it right or acceptable. It just means that, you know, we've apologised and that's it. Move on. But people don't do that. People don't all do that. Otherwise, everyone would be doing it. People just don't do it. And it's because it's difficult. I'm saying to this one person, you've got to literally, I'm saying to her, she's not going to get the order that she wants. And she needs to, because she's been argumentative and whatnot, and they've got to, not because she's got every right to be argumentative, every right, but she's not channeled it in the right way, and they played her. The solicitors and whatever have played this woman, and we need to get out of that case, and we need to have a fresh one. And you have to, and your child has said that they want to live with the other parent, but it's a complicated story, but I can't go into the story, so it's not the other parent. So it's like, the right thing for that child to do, for us to do right now, is respect that child's boundaries and respect that child's wishes and feelings, as difficult as it might be, and encourage that, because you're only going to get the child to be pushing away from you as a result. And the court will only order that anyway, because they're going to say the same thing, because it's the right thing for the child. And if you don't, and if you argue it and you can't put yourself in a child's eye, and then you're going to get told, then you're going to get an even worse order. You've got to. I had one guy that was going to court, was in court for like 4 years, continually going back towards the court, and he'd come out of prison, and he's asking for 50-50 shared care. And I'm like, that's never going to happen. He's like, I had it before I went in. It doesn't matter. You've been in now, so you've got to come out regardless of anything. You've been in. I sorted that out in 2 hearings. 2 hearings, done, dusted. And he managed his expectations. And that's the other thing. People don't manage expectations properly. I'm realistic with shit, and I'm good at stuff. So we're good at getting shared care orders because we make the right decisions at the right times. We're good at getting orders that work in our favour, or what the service user wants, because we're realistic. And if something's unrealistic based on allegations or based on the circumstances in the household and based on whatever, then that's not gonna that's not good. You're not going to get what you're asking for, so they need to know that. So you need to have a next best option, and show the court that you're willing to work and compromise and sacrifice. And then you know that they're not going to follow the court order, because they're just not. Because if you've got a really crazy ex, then they won't be like mine. She's never followed the court order in her life. She'd basically just do what she wants. And there was moments in the last 11 years, the early days, where I would just argue back and be like, no. Stick to the court order, but why? Why would I bother arguing about at a point, at a principle? Because this was point of principle. Court order says that you're not giving me anything. I want you to stick to a court order. Blah. If I had just been like, okay, whatever, crack on, not argue back, wouldn't have made a difference anyway. But then I wouldn't be so placid and whatever now, because my tolerance level, as a result of all that, your tolerance level goes up massively, because you're dealing with this sort of crazy shit. Was it? If you're feeling really shit, right, what generally works for me as well is going out and helping other people. Homeless people, that sort of stuff. Go out and help them. There's always someone else in a worse situation. And the situations that we're in, I'm only there for a moment in time. Although it feels like a lifetime, it's only a moment in time. And we say you lose time, you can't get that back. The more you argue, the more time you lose. So the more time you can't get back. So where possible, you need to try and put the fires out. Even though they're starting them, and you'll find yourself you're a bit constantly putting fires out. And then you might get to the point of being like, I can't put the fires out anymore, but you have to keep putting the fires out. I've had cases where you've got like different allegations come in every single court hearing. Like new allegations. What the falafels? You're trying to get your ex in trouble, but you're also trying to put your kid in foster care. Because the thing is, they can't see it. These people who are wired that way, they can't see it. They can't see the impact. They can't see anything from anyone else's eyes other than their own. Is what it is. I've got to court hearings, and rightly or wrongly, I end up, even when we don't get the order that we're wanting, even when the client doesn't get what they want, if they don't get what they want, yeah, I feel it for the client, and I'm emotional with the client, and I get it because I get how they're feeling. But at the same time, I can also see and accept is the key word, the argument and the counter argument that the judge uses to make the finding, or to make, not the findings, but make his conclusions come to their conclusions. And they are so child focused, like next level child focused, you would not begin to imagine it. And it's difficult because it's so overly over, if that makes sense. But then I understand the reasons why that is, because it's not their children. And if anything happens to the children, and it's off the back of a court order that they've ordered, they're not going to be fucking best pleased, are they? But then they do take it too far when they're like, you can't call, this is an example just for argument's sake. I can't use that one actually. So I used to use this when I was younger. Mildenhall, there's a little place called Mildenhall, right? In Suffolk, I think it's Suffolk. And ultimately, I call it Mouldy Hole. Now, if I was still married and my ex-wife was from Mildenhall, and I was saying to Lila, yeah, I don't like it there, it's Mouldy Hole, everyone's really boring, blah, 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 then that would be seen as derogative towards the mother because that's where she's from. So therefore that's abusive. Therefore you can have a non-molestation upheld against you. You might think I'm joking, but that's true fact, true story. True story. So to get people to understand that's how child-focused things are is difficult sometimes because they've been parenting fine and there's people that do worse than what they've done and blah, blah, and they're like, what am I getting taken apart from this? And that's because they're super protective. Because don't forget as well, if there's any chance of people, these professionals, trying to take children into foster care, I've seen so many cases go from private proceedings down to public proceedings based on the conflict between the parents and not being conducive to the child or for the child. But then the parents still at each other's throats and still can't see that until it gets to the point where the judge says, enough is enough. And I've seen that happen quite a few times. How long do I stay doing this for? Because I'm not sure if they tell you off for like leaving early. What time is it? 1:30? It's 3 o'clock. Did I do it right? It's 3 o'clock. I've managed to last all the way through. I feel like I've done a good session with feel like I'm sort of quite happy with myself that I managed to last that long. Obviously it's been a while, but yeah, I thought I'd be quicker, much quicker by now. But I didn't. I've managed to fill the air with nonsense for that amount of time. These are just my thoughts that I'm thinking. Happens sometimes. But yeah, and then that's that. Keep your eye open for, and I'm sure if you come again tomorrow, I'm going to do this like daily, because I'm sure I'll have more things to talk about. It won't necessarily all be like family law, but it's just good for the soul to talk and put it out there, just clearing my airwaves. And being the best version of me that I can be. You can tell that I'm getting tired now though, because there's longer gaps coming between my talk. I'm sure there's someone's making noise in that kitchen, but there's no one in the kitchen. Or maybe there is. You're gonna come out with a knife behind me and you see it all behind me, happening before me on the camera, and I can't see it. How scary would that be? So yeah, I'll say it again for the last time for shits and giggles. If anyone's got a business that you want me to put onto my website that supports men, no charge, just put it on the website, be like a preferred partner. It could be anywhere in England and Wales, then let me know. And give me some artwork if you want to have the artwork, and then I'll get it put on there for you. Anything that would help people rebuild their lives. Courses, self-awareness, what do you call it? Software? I don't know. Talking out loud now. That's the thing though, isn't it? Is it really, so I don't class this as being lonely at all. I like my alone time. Like, I like my alone time a lot. Especially when I go out, if I've gone out for a couple of drinks with these birds, I'm like, I see the red flags, like, and I'm like, I'm straight out of there. I'm like, fuck that shit. It's like, it's too expensive. Dating's expensive anyway. And if I see red flags, then why am I putting myself through it? I'm off. That's the reality. I'm fucking around there, sunshine. So that's what I don't do. So yeah, I'm gonna go because I probably am gonna finish this page off and then probably fall asleep at my desk. I've done that before, right? As well, I've fallen asleep on like a Facebook Live for a couple of hours, literally dribbling on the floor and all that sort of stuff. It wasn't a pretty sight apparently. I didn't record it, didn't get a recording of it. I'm sure there's probably some flying around somewhere, but no one's been nice enough to share it with me. It's not like I'm gonna get offended by it. I've got an ex-wife. That's what I remember. People don't realise that. They don't remember that. I have an ex-wife. She's a bit of a fucking loopy one. And I can deal with her, so I can deal with you too. Oh God, it's gone cold again. It's like -7, still -7. I'm thinking it's gonna go like -20 or something tonight. It might be -20. Oh, fucking hell. So I was gonna say something then, but because TikTok's very regimented, I couldn't say it. But yeah, it's goosebumps. I've got goosebumps on my hand now because it's suddenly gone cold again. Anyway, I'm gonna go. So until tomorrow, because I'm doing another one tomorrow at a little bit of an earlier time, to talk about politics and how it's great that the Conservatives are given £2.5 billion to war aids, and they can't make the electricity and gas cheaper for the people on electric meters. Apparently now you don't need the electricity companies for electricity because you can make your own using their Tesla formation. And I've seen this with my own eyes, so it does work. And that's about that. We're going to call it a rap. Not one of those raps, but one of them Will Smith raps. How's it go? Hey, Philadelphia, born and raised. Best of my days. I can't remember what it does now. But you know the one I'm talking about. The one who got slapped on the Grammys, whatever it was last year. With that woman that she was seeing multiple different people. She played in big time as well, didn't she? Women are the best actresses, you know. The best actresses. They fake orgasms. They can fake that they're happy for all these years in relationships, and then they can go to court and say, I wasn't happy from the start of the relationship. Even before we got married, I wasn't happy, but I never said no. And I carried on getting married and having 15 kids anyway. Now he's got no money and I don't want him anymore, so I'm going to spit him out and leave him with nothing and find the next one. That's society. That's society, and that is the council culture. That's the reality of it. These women, and it's social media that's caused it. And there's more and more men, boys, who don't know how to react and don't know how to behave and don't know how to fucking go on a date. Because I wouldn't go on a date anymore. Like literally, I would not. I was with a client and they were like, oh, should I get a prostitute? Oh, no, I'm not fucking doing that. But ultimately, like, even though, what if they cry about, you can't do nothing. You cannot do anything. If I ever sleep with anyone again, I'm making them write down a contract beforehand that says, I'm consenting to this. I don't think I'll ever get to that stage again because I don't think I'll ever trust anyone again to get to that stage. But that's the thing. You got to be like, go. That's literally. Whenever I hear people saying, "I walk on eggshells," yeah, really. As a man, you got to walk on eggshells. If you're close to sleeping with somebody, you need to make sure that you're almost married to them before you've actually get into bed with them, because otherwise it's like you're playing a dangerous game. And I've known people to have Tinder babies. I call them Tinder babies, where they're like literally had one Tinder date and they get pregnant, and then they hate each other for the rest of their lives. It's dangerous, man. Anyway, I'm still waffling, as I do. Until next time, till tomorrow, I shall bid you farewell. Thank you for spending your time with me and listening to my waffle. Peace and love. Peace and love.